watching Local 2, where local news comes first.
It's a potentially deadly defect that could keep you from surviving a crash. And tonight there are questions about whether it's in some of the most popular vehicles on Houston roadways. It's something many drivers have never even heard about, but it could put you and your loved ones at risk. In a KPRC Local 2 Troubleshooters exclusive, Robert Arnold uncovers the Ford safety questions now at the center of a slew of lawsuits.
Millions of Ford trucks and SUVs on the road today are now under scrutiny as to whether they meet the federal standards required for door latches. The vehicles in question are the 97 through 2000 model F-150s, F-250s, Expeditions, and Lincoln Navigators. That's 4.1 million vehicles. This question was actually first raised 8 years ago when Canadian safety officials were doing crash tests on the F-150. Watch this video. Notice how the passenger side door pops open, even though the door was locked. Canada sent this information to Ford, and an investigation was launched. Internal Ford documents show engineers discovered the springs that keep door handles from opening during crashes were built below Ford's own standards. This prompted the company to scrap its entire inventory of these latches, redesign the latches for future models, and engineers recommended a safety recall.
Despite the recommendations from its own engineers, Ford canceled that recall. Ford officials cite a test developed in 1967 that proves their door handles meet federal standards and therefore are safe.
Steve Sison is an engineering expert. He argues the 1967 test Ford used is not considered the industry standard.
It fails the federal motor vehicle safety standards and by definition should be recalled.
I think actions speak louder than words, and when they scrap their inventory of these latches, that tells you something about the quality of that product.
Rob Ammons is an attorney suing Ford on behalf of 17-year-old Kelly Davenport's family. She was killed 2 years ago. The pickup she was driving rolled over. Her door popped open. She was thrown out, and the truck rolled on top of her. Her mother is the one who found her.
It was just me. I couldn't push the truck off of her. I was helpless.
Ammons also argues Ford never used that 1967 test to check its door latches until this issue came up.
Ford has never used this test to certify any of their products other than this particular product.
Ford documents show 6 instances of doors popping open during its own crash tests, but Ford officials argue that's not enough evidence to prove a defect. Now watch this test. It simulates a Ford truck hitting a signpost at 20 miles an hour. Watch how the handle lifts up just as if someone opened the door with their own hand. We tried to ask Ford about these tests and the findings of its own investigation. We were sent this statement. The outside door handles and latch assemblies on the F-150 are safe and fully comply with all applicable government and industry standards. If the latches were not compliant, Ford would have issued a recall. At Ford Motor Company, the safety of our customers is a top priority. In the vast majority of serious injuries and fatalities, 81% involved unbelted occupants.
In Kelly Davenport's case, it may never be known if she was wearing her seatbelt. Investigators at the scene say she was not. Others argue her backpack hit her seatbelt as the truck was rolling over, causing it to release. In the News Center, I'm Robert Arnold, KPRC Local 2.
This footnote. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is now deciding whether it needs to develop one-door latch test for the entire auto industry. NHTSA is also deciding whether its own standard for door latches needs to be upgraded, citing the current standard has only been 15% effective in keeping people from being thrown out of their cars during crashes. If you have a story for our KPRC Local 2 troubleshooters, call their tip line at 713-223-TIPS, or you can email them, troubleshooters@clip2houston.com.